Every time we push, if we don't push with a flat punching wrist, you will leak energy and it will not work. The point of these 3 exercises that we're talking about is if you practice them, they will encourage you to, over time, make this flat until this becomes a default structure so that you can transfer more power. Hitting things, just like swinging hammers, just like throwing things, is about 3 concepts: structure, breathing, and movement. The human body has structure, has skeletons. Those skeletons are held together by muscles, tendons, and ligaments. And then we have breathing, how and when we breathe, along with movement. A punch is a specific type of movement. It uses what you might call a sling of muscles that transfer force, not just from your shoulder, but through your core, through your hip, down into your feet. This is what martial artists or boxers or fighters practice for years. They practice creating a sling of movement to get power. Most people who go into martial arts or self-defense training never learn to hit hard because they are what we call leaking power. That means that their structure isn't lined up. The first exercise, in order to make sure that you line up better so that you can hit harder, is the kettlebell clean and press family of movements. It starts with a kettlebell clean and press, it goes to a push press, and it turns into a kettlebell clean and jerk. Let's talk about those really quickly and why they are important. When we go to pick up a kettlebell, we hold it in the corner of the bell. Our wrist is already in a flat line. When we go to our clean, we are already set up in a defensive or offensive position. You will notice the wrist is flat. We are not bending our wrist like you do with barbell or dumbbell. This is what makes kettlebell unique. This grip, holding the L of the hand into the corner of the L of the kettlebell, allows the handle to lay down at 45 degrees, and that allows us to have these 2 knuckles in a perfectly straight line with our forearm. When we go for our press, we open, we press all the way up. Our wrist stays in the correct alignment. We bring it down, we fold it in. We do our clean, we realign each time. We're practicing that alignment until it becomes natural, and press. Bring it down, clean, press. Doing something like throwing a punch is a total body exercise, just like throwing a baseball is a total body exercise. There is a core movement pattern inside of it. The main part is that we are training the sling of our body, how our core fires. Every time we lift a kettlebell, there's one core fire. When we catch it, the muscles on the opposite side of our body contract. When we do our press, we are mimicking at the most basic level the core activation of throwing a punch. We start with a pure press, which means that we are locking our legs and learning to press with one hand. That will balance our core on both sides of our spine when we do an equal number on each side. That is the basis of all of your throwing and striking in particular. When the kettlebell becomes heavier, you start to have to use your legs because all striking is a leg exercise. This is something you hear all the time when you go to boxing class. Use your legs, turn your hips over, and mostly coaches just yell at you and expect you to understand it. The kettlebell clean and press will teach you how to start using your hip in conjunction with the press. The press becomes a push press where you push it up with the assistance of the legs when it gets heavier. I think this was like 33K. It's really heavy. A push press. Now, let's take it one step further than that and turn it into a jerk, a single arm kettlebell jerk, where we push with our legs, drop underneath the catch, and then stand up in the locked out position. Clean, down, underneath, stand all the way up, bring it down. The important part is, no matter what the load, we are maintaining that punching structure. The kettlebell clean and press can allow you to build a lot of global strength. You're taking what is a gym exercise, You're shoving all the weight on one side of your body, and you're making sure you default to the correct lineup all the time. The more cycles you do with a kettlebell clean and press, push press, or jerk, the heavier it gets, the better you get at connecting this motion with the hip power, which is the basis of doing that. Kettlebells are a straight line. Throwing a punch is a rotation. The next exercise we would like to work on is about alignment of the wrist, the elbow, the shoulder with rotation. In martial arts, you have two patterns of rotation. You have towards the center line. Oftentimes you can think of that as a cross, and you have a movement that moves away from your center line. People tend to think of that as a jab. Heavy club swinging forces you to line up your wrist so that we can practice this basic cross pattern. Let's talk about this inside circle. Inside circle allows us to learn to push from the leg through our core to drive our arm all the way out to catch. Rotate across. Learning to push from the leg, push, swing, pull, catch, come back. Push, swing, pull, catch, come back. Every time we push, if we don't push with a flat punching wrist, you will leak energy and it will not work. The point of these three exercises that we're talking about is if you practice them, they will encourage you to, over time, make this flat until this becomes a default structure so that you can transfer more power. Inside circle, we're not going to move our feet with this variation. Comes up to our order position. We rotate across, 4 cues. Push, swing, pull, catch. Rotate across, push, swing, pull, catch. Rotate across, push, swing, pull, catch. Same thing, we would like to make sure that we are doing an equal number of reps on both sides. Push, swing, pull, catch. Rotate, push, swing, pull, catch. Rotate. This tends to be more of a higher volume exercise. Kettlebell clean and press is one family of movements. Straight line, heavier weight. Inside circle tends to be lighter weight, and we treat it like strength training with numbers. Sets of 5 and we add volume. The third exercise we want to do focuses on outside. So we had straight line, inside, now we're going to have outside. We're going to do a 2-hand outside pendulum. We're going to focus on side hip power, that thing that they tell you to do in every martial art, create power from the hips, but we're going to give you something that allows you to have feedback to figure out how to do that. We define the outside by that top hand, but we're going to have 2 hands on it because it's going to force us to rotate more, to improve the rotation for the push from the leg, the bottom hip snap, and the catch. We're going to say push, load, swing, pull, catch. Come back to center, practice this reload. Set up, the movement starts from the leg, push, swing, pull, catch. Come back to center, rotate, push, swing, pull, catch. Come back to center. Let's talk about how you would work on these 3 exercises. Weight ranges. For the clean and press, the goal for men is usually 32K or about 70 pounds. With new equipment, we are going to try to get fighters towards 40K. If you just learned to line up, 40K is 88 pounds, that's 90 pounds. If you can single arm push 90 pounds, your core is set up to create more power. Your alignment of your upper body will be better. You will create more power. With the inside circle, our goal for most people is to start around 15 pounds, but our goal is to get to the point where it is 30 pounds. When you get to 30 pounds, then you know you are lining up, but you will get benefit from any weight that you do with that that's above 15 pounds for men. Ladies' numbers are all 70% of the men's numbers, but scaled based on frame size because it's very different. For the outside clean, our goal is to get men towards at least 50 pounds, but our goal is to get guys to 70 pounds. If you get to a 40K clean and press, a 30-pound inside circle, and a 70-pound outside pendulum, your overall structure, breathing, and movement for striking will skyrocket.